I thought about these guys who understand what I feel like sometimes when overwhelmed with too much stuff, with drama in this planet. And these two guys had had the worst weekend ever. Literally, the worst weekend ever. And you know the story. They're heading back out of Jerusalem. And all their hopes are gone. They had thought, they had dreamed. They saw the throne in their minds, and there was going to be lots of little thrones next to that one. And it was going to be Jesus, and the Romans were going to be out, and everything was going to be right. They got so close. They could taste it. And then in just days, it just all changed. And that same Jesus, who was going to be their king, was crucified in front of their own eyes. That body was laid to rest. The guys went into hiding because they're scared out of their wits that they're going to end up on a cross as well, that the Romans have it out for them, that they're going to be fingered and named. And now it's Sunday. And to top it off, some of the women are going loopy. They're going crazy. Some of the women are saying one thing, and the guys are saying another, and they haven't seen it with their eyes, and now two of them just say, we're checking out. Have you ever checked out? Have you just said, you know what, I just want to step away from this. I just want to leave the room. That's how these guys were. Said, you know what, I don't get it. I don't get it, and I'm gone. So they take off to go home, to leave back to Emmaus. 7 miles, the longest 7 miles they ever walked, that they drug their feet. So much so that when a stranger comes up alongside them, he asks the question, why do you look so down? What's up? What are you guys talking about? And they look at the stranger like, who are you, guy, that you don't have a clue? You're on the same road we came from, but you don't have the same perspective that we have? And he said, tell me about it. I love that part. And so they do. Well, Jesus and the crucifixion, and he was going to be the king, and now he's dead, and we're done. We're going home. And the stranger was quiet, and he listened. He heard all their drama. And then the guys told the end, and the women say one thing, and we say another, and now we don't know what to think. And then finally the stranger opens up his mouth, and he talks. And he comforts them and he says, you crazy men, you silly men, you foolish guys. What? And then he spells it out. From Genesis, Moses' writings, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, all the way to Malachi. He talks, and while he's talking, he's pointing, he's connecting the dots for these guys. Wasn't it written? Didn't the prophets foretell? Didn't they say that the Son of Man would have to suffer much at the hands of men for all these things to come to pass? And while he's talking, but pretty soon these guys don't even realize that they're not dragging their feet anymore. There's a little pickup in their step. And before they know it, 7 miles is gone, and they're ending up in front of their house, and the stranger remains on the road and just acts like business as usual, that he's going to keep on going. When they say, no, stranger, come on in. Sit down with us. Come in and dine with us. And so he does. He comes in. Sit down, stranger. Take a load off. And he does. Stranger, will you say the blessing or the food? I don't know. Somewhere in there, what happened? Maybe it was the way the stranger reached out his hands and took a hold of the bread. Maybe. Maybe it's the way he lifted it up to the Father. Maybe. Maybe it was the way he prayed. Or maybe it was the way he broke the bread. But somewhere in there, those two guys, their eyes were open and they realized that's no stranger. And they realized they've been walking with Jesus all along. And their eyes were open, and as soon as they realized that he was right there in the middle of them, they could no longer see him. I bet you they stumbled a bit over the next few words. Since they had just been accusing the women of being crazy, now they're probably feeling kind of crazy themselves, and turned to each other like, I could imagine this way. Did you just see what I see? I don't know. You tell me what you saw. You tell me what you saw first. Okay, I saw Jesus. Was he right here? Oh my gosh. Am I going crazy? What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I can't sit here anymore. Those two guys went back to Jerusalem. And by the time they got there to Jerusalem, it's pitch black. They find the room where the disciples have been hiding again. You know the story. You preached on it. Doors are shut. Windows are locked. They let us in. And they let the guys in. Are you guys running from the Romans? You're panting. What's going on? And they relay their story. We saw him. He was there in the midst of us. And then right there at that moment, through the walls, with windows shut and doors locked, Jesus walks in and he joins them and he's standing in their midst, and everybody does what you and I would have done. They freak out. They think he's a ghost. He says, no, it's really me. Check it out. Great scars, Jesus. Wow. It's really you. One of the disciples, besides Judas, that's a given, he wasn't there. But there was another one who wasn't there. You know that, Thomas. He heard the news later that Jesus had showed up. He says, well, I'm not believing until I see with my own eyes. And 8 days later, Jesus pulled the same thing, come through the walls again, join the guys again in that room, and let Thomas see. There's 6 statements, 6 road signs that I want you to consider today. Number 1 road sign, traveling with them. That's a little phrase I cut out of there. There he is. Jesus is traveling with them. He's traveling with you, and he's traveling with me. I even like that these guys got bugged that Jesus didn't even know what was happening in Jerusalem. They got bugged by him. He knew what was happening back in the big city. I also love this part. We had hoped. I mean, I don't love it. It's a negative thing. When those guys are telling their story and Jesus is patiently listening to them, he lets us vent to him. He, in fact, implores us to carry all of our needs to him. And in their ranting, they say, we had hoped. The 3 saddest words I think I've ever heard. Have you ever been there? We had hoped. Translation for that? We had hope back in the day, but now it's gone. Basically, we're hopeless. All the dreams, all the plans are gone. The brokenness that we were hoping to escape has now grown larger. We had hoped. So the next statement, Jesus talks. He says, you are slow to believe. Our kids are all different kinds of learners. And some of our kids are a little quicker to catch on, and some, frankly, are slow. We have a new puppy at our house, and we call him slow. He is slow to learn. He's catching on, but slow to learn. Jesus calls it like it is. He doesn't coddle us. He tells us, you need a workout. You need some help. You're slow to learn. But he doesn't leave us in that place of being slow to learn. He begins to explain and connect all the dots so these guys can understand and comprehend. And somewhere in there, their faith grows. Faith comes by hearing, right? And hearing by the word of God. He gave them exactly what they needed. Then their eyes were opened. It all began to make sense to them. But first, some faith had to be exercised, and Jesus revealed himself to them. Were not our hearts burning within us? Looking back and recalling what he said, my heart was on fire. That's what hope feels like again. I almost forgot what hope feels like. Feels like my heart's on fire. And the last statement, this is the part where you and I are in there. You're in the story. You and I got a Jesus shout out in this story. He talked to his disciples about us. He said these words, blessed are those who believe even though they have not yet seen. That's me. That's you. Have you believed? We haven't seen him yet. We haven't laid eyes on him yet. But we will. And then we will see him as he fully is. I love that. I just want to remind you those things today. Things that, I don't know, you may be like me and just need a good reminding sometime that he is walking the journey with us, that we're not alone. So the key little phrases that go with those 6 signs, traveling with them, he travels with me. We had hoped. Tell God how you're feeling. He wants to hear you out. You can tell him anything. Admit it, you're slow of heart to believe. Recognize that you're desperate, that you need help. That's a good place to be. And you know what? He does not leave us there in that hopelessness. Then your eyes are opened and you can see that he's right there with you. He will reveal himself to you. He will reveal himself to me, maybe in a way I've never yet experienced because of this new pathway. Were not our hearts burning within us? He will set my heart on fire. He will set me up to be blessed. Just so I can be blessed? Well, that's enough. He loves me enough. He loves you enough just to bless you. But you know what? That's our God, when he blesses us to be a blessing, to turn around and to bring that fire and to encourage somebody else and to bring that faith to somebody else's story.